Welcome to the Knicks point guard breakdown. We'll start here with Jalen Brunson, the new signing. Last season he played 79 games, averaging 16 points on great efficiency, 50% from the floor, 37% from three, 70%. That would have been impressive. And his playmaking was okay. 3.7 assists a game, assist to turnover ratio of 2.3. It's not great, but he wasn't really asked to be a point guard too much in Dallas because you have Luka Doncic on the team. I mean, like, possibly MVP of the league next year running the show. So he's more of an off-ball guy, but I think here in New York he's going to have a little bit more of a playmaking role. I mean, that's part of the reason he came here, right? Just to have a bigger role in general. So last season was awesome for him. He was the number 2 on one of those final 4 teams there in the NBA playoffs. I mean, that's super impressive. And in terms of his play there too, his efficiency did dip a little bit, but that's to be expected. You know, he's playing more minutes, taking more shots, and the defense is caring about him quite a bit. He was still very good at scoring the ball, so you don't worry about that. I think he played well. So he's a 25-year-old, 6'1" guard, and he's pretty quick, but he's more of like a shifty, heady, agility kind of guy. His real goal this season is come to New York. He's going to get a bigger role. He's going to get to run the team. He's going to be one of the pillars of this team. And I think he's going to do really well there. Like, the team already hired his dad somewhere on the bench, maybe, I'm not sure. And I think he's got a great chemistry with Tom Thibodeau. For those of you who don't know, Tom Thibodeau, what is he like? He likes hard work, he likes defense, and people not messing up. And I think Brunson's going to thrive under that. I watched an interview with him on JJ Redick's podcast, and it sounds like this guy puts a lot of work in and really wants to be pushed. And, you know, he's a 25-year-old. Maybe he can help set an awesome culture there with the Knicks. Speaking of that contract, he signed a 4-year deal, averaging $26 million per. That's a sweet bag. He definitely wasn't expecting that at the start of the year, but after the season he had last year, that's what you get. And like I was saying, hopefully this year and going forward, he can set some kind of awesome culture there with the Knicks. I mean, it's a great location for free agents, but no one lands there. Well, that's just because the culture's not good. Okay, like, in terms of media coverage, like, it's the biggest city. It's just the culture's always sucked. So, you know, hopefully Brunson can come in there, set a good culture, and attract someone who's a true number 1. Because at least at this point, I don't see him as that number 1 option. But, you know, he's 25. He can get better. We'll see what happens. D Rose, so he had a tough season last year. Only played 26 games. But in those games, he averaged 12 points, awesome shooting efficiency, 44% from the floor, 40% from 3. You're going to be happy if Derrick Rose is taking a shot. That's awesome. The playmaking was all right. He had 4 assists a game, 2.67 assist to turnover ratio. It's not elite, but for this Knicks team, it's like up there. So they could definitely use a little bit more playmaking, but they really need him there to get things rolling. So like I mentioned last year, it was a tough year for him. He had an ankle injury, which needed surgery. And the Knicks in general just had a huge letdown year. And it really got to Julius Randle, their previous All-Stars, head, and he pouted. He had a terrible time. But last season in the playoffs, D Rose was their best player. He pretty much single-handedly won them that one playoff game, which New York City really appreciated. They went and rioted, flipped taxi cabs. They liked that. In terms of D Rose now, I'm not sure which season he's into now, but he's 33 years old, a 6'2" guard, another one of these small guards for this Knicks team. You see that's a bit of a pattern. And he's a vet. He's getting towards the twilight of his career. New York City is a great place for him because they love him there. Again, they got to flip taxi cabs. They like that sort of thing. And the media presence there keeps his career sort of relevant. He's always been a bit of a brand, you know. He's got a great story to him. People really like the guy. So I think that's important too. Now his role in this team is really to be a veteran, have a good presence, like grow the culture, grow the development of the team. He's got history with the coach too. He's played a few years here now with the Knicks, and he was with the Bulls with Tom Thibodeau back in his MVP years. So really he's going to be trying to develop that culture there, which is really important. I mean, this guy's been through it all. He can teach anybody anything. He was an MVP. He was a role player. He spent time away from the game when he contemplated, like, do I even want to keep messing my body up if I'm not even going to get to play many games? So he's got a lot to teach people. But in terms of playing, I think he'll get a lot more than you expect to. He's the sort of mentor that can show you how it's done on the court. Like I mentioned, you're going to be happy if D Rose is taking a shot. He's quite efficient, quite efficient. He's a veteran too. Thibodeau's going to like that, and he's got that rapport with Thibodeau too. So he's going to have the respect and get those minutes. I think he'll be coming off the bench, but still, I think he'll be getting more minutes than you expect. Like I mentioned, efficient scorer, and on defense, he's not a total liability at all. In terms of contract, he's got 2 more years, averaging $15 million, so he's really getting that bag now. Good for this guy. But that next deal that he gets after 2 years, when he's 35, is going to depend a lot on, okay, what's left now with D Rose at 35, and also how good a job did he do mentoring these young players? Because I think he's got the tools to be elite at that sort of thing. And when someone turns 35, that's sort of what teams are looking for when they're going to sign you again. So I think whatever the next contract is, it's going to depend just as much on how good is Derrick and how good did he make the rest of the team. So we'll see. So our next point guard here is Miles McBride. Last season he played quite a few games, actually, 40 games. He didn't get much play in those games, only 9 minutes a game, averaged 2 points, 1 assist. The assist-to-turnover ratio was kind of wacky. That's just because there wasn't enough stats. It was a ratio of around 10, which is insane. But it shows he can at least take care of the ball, and he's a pretty decent playmaker. In terms of scoring, though, just not very good. 30% from the floor, 25% from 3. That's not going to get you minutes. It's not going to get you respect from the defense either, which is going to make playmaking a lot tougher. If you look at the per 36 stats, though, he's actually averaging 4 assists a game. So, I mean, there's potential there. There's potential as a playmaker. So we'll see how that develops. I mean, last year he got a pretty good opportunity. There was injury because of Derrick Rose. And he actually scored efficiently in his G League games too. 46% from the field, 48% from 3. So, I mean, does he have potential there to translate that to the NBA? Is that just another small sample size where we can't really take anything from that? I don't know. But he's another one of these small guards, man. 21 years old, 6'1". He's super quick. Probably the quickest of these guards. But if you look at the big picture now, the Knicks have all these tiny guards. You got Brunson at 6'1", D Rose at 6'2". I think Quickly is also 6'2", barefoot. And now you got Miles McBride as well, 6'1". And I mean, those 3 guys I just mentioned, they're all going to be getting minutes before him. They're higher up in the pecking order. And all those small guards is not a recipe for good defense. Like I mentioned, Tom Thibodeau, that's a big deal for him. I really can't see him running more than 3 of these miniature guards in his rotation. And it doesn't even have to be a case of Miles getting exposed individually on defense. It's just a team concept thing. Like, if you play the entire game where 2 of the players on the floor are always 6'1", the other team's going to come up with a scheme to really expose that because they're just too small. So, I mean, this year he's got to develop, focus on improving that efficiency. I mean, he did okay in the G League. Maybe that can translate. And the playmaking will become easier for him, too, when he's a bigger scoring threat. And we've seen that he can at least take care of the ball. He's not turning it over much. In terms of his stay here with the Knicks, he's got another year at $1.5 million. And then after that, a team option for a similar amount the following year. But this guy really needs some opportunity. He needs something to go his way to get minutes on the floor, because it doesn't look like he's going to really get much playing time. So he's got to either, progress heavily in practice, where they're like, wow, this guy's insane. We really got to get him some minutes. The Knicks have to really suck, where they're tanking. They don't care if they win games or not. Like, who cares? Let's just go play this McBride guy. Injury can happen. Any of those small guards I mentioned, like D Rose last year, had that injury, and that really gave this guy some opportunity to play. And maybe the Knicks offense just isn't working. That happened last year for sometimes, and maybe they want to try different things. Like he could provide some speed, take advantage of some slower defenders. I don't know. It doesn't seem that likely, but those are all his options. If those things don't happen, I don't really see many minutes coming his way. All in all, now for the point guard position for the Knicks, you got a huge upgrade in the backcourt from last year. You've got Brunson, you just signed to a big deal. You've got Derrick Rose back healthy again. They didn't draft Jaden Ivey, which was really surprising to people because he fell to that 5th spot and they decided to trade away the pick. And I mean, this has got to bode well for McBride. They've got some kind of faith in him, and I guess Emmanuel Quickly too. So I'm not sure what their plan is with those guys, but I mean, they keep them around. It's going to be hard, though, for Tom Thibodeau to get the defense he wants out of these player archetypes. They're just so small. I think he'll be more happy this year than last year for sure, because you have some better players and some more experienced players. I mean, now you've got Jalen Brunson, who's 25. He's not, I mean, he's had great playoff experience going to the conference finals. You got Derrick Rose back. And you know what? Maybe you make up for their lack of defense at other positions. I'm not sure. But if I was going to rate this point guard position for the Knicks, I would say you're probably like a play-in team. Like Brunson, average, above average, starting point guard, and Derrick Rose, probably about the same, like average, above average. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be coming out with another one tomorrow on the shooting guard position. That's going to be Quentin Grimes, big fan favorite there in New York. They're really hyping him up lately. Emmanuel Quickley, and the new draft pick, Trevor Keels. So we'll be breaking that down tomorrow. I'll see you there. Peace.